pop in as a 70s character. I
I
think
love
her
that.
I think her style would really work with the 70s. If she came in as like one of the bosses, I think that could be a lot of fun. Miller's a real person. And I
Yeah.
hope they believe that Doug Renetti is a real person. And when I was growing up and watched shows like Cheers, and I loved those shows, I believed those characters were real. I didn't really care about what Ted Danson was like at home. I
Mm.
believed he was Sam Malone, how to act on a television show for 7 years and how to stay with a character and how to do scenes even though it didn't feel quite right and how to make little changes to make it feel more like my version of Nick. And I've learned, I maybe probably handled that with less class because I was younger and doing it as Doug. I've learned how to like ask for changes in probably a nicer way. And when you're the first time you're going through it, New Girl was the first one, everything felt really desperate and, it felt like life and death. And with Minx, it
Hello, everyone. I'm Rudrani, and welcome to Speak Easy. My guest today is extremely talented and very, very funny as well. I'm sure you heard of Jake Johnson. He's absolutely amazing. Hi, Jake. Welcome to Zoom TV India, and welcome to India.
nice to meet you. It's
Nice
neat
to
to be
meet you.
speaking to everybody.
Of course, it's great. Also, what I said was true because you have a lot of fans of New Girl here, and I think that's something that's always talked about. I want to know: is it easy to move on from a show that got you that kind of popularity, break that sort of box, that people do usually want to see you in, and then move on to characters like you do in Minx? I mean, it's awesome.
Thanks. Well, I don't really think that the idea of like breaking the box of a character is what it used to be because there's so much content and creativity. So I see it as a good thing that those who like New Girl might come with us and check out Minx. And even if it's not everybody, if it's a percentage of the New Girl fans who give us a chance and fall in love with this show, then we've got a chance to make another special show.
There was a very interesting comment you made a long time back about how you'd want it's great. You want the audience to believe that you are the person who is on screen.
Yeah.
A lot of actors actually say, we just want to do our job and we don't want them to associate with us, particularly if the character is even slightly gray. Could you elaborate why you said that?
Well, I think it's because that Nick Miller is a real person. And I
Yeah.
hope they believe that Doug Renetti is a real person. And when I was growing up and watched shows like Cheers, and I loved those shows, I believed those characters were real. I didn't really care about what Ted Danson was like at home. I believed he was Sam Malone. And so I personally believe that's the goal of an actor. And it's why I'm not overly present on social media and I don't talk about personal things too often because I think the fun for the audience is believing that the characters they watch are three-dimensional real humans. And I think it makes the entertainment way more fun. At least it does for me when I watch.
Absolutely. Now here's a character. He's seedy, he's shady, but he's
Oh,
got
he's
a heart of
good.
gold.
He's good. He's
But
good.
exactly,
Yeah.
but he's good. He's got a
Yeah.
heart of gold there. Such an interesting dynamic. And of course, the entire premise about the fact that it's a feminist porn magazine. I feel sexuality from the lens has always been from the male gaze.
Yes.
And I think the women are always objectified and not really celebrated. It's so interesting that you picked up this premise. Tell me a little more on that. And when you first sort of sat on the show and understood the show, what were your thoughts and what were the things that you learned on the show?
Well, I personally find it to be, it's just a really fun program. I think it's really funny. I think the world is really interesting. I am a feminist. I believe feminism just means equality, and I'm for equality. But what I really like about this show is it doesn't feel like it's a show about lessons. I don't think it's trying to teach anybody. I think it's trying to entertain people. So I
Yeah.
think it's just a funny way to get into a workplace comedy. And that is this guy, Doug Renetti, just wants to make money. So Doug doesn't care what he's taking photos of, men, women, whatever. He just wants to make money. And he happens to find a meal ticket in Joyce Prigger, who is a really intense feminist. But for Doug, he doesn't care. He just wants to sell magazines. So I think there's a really fun built-in conflict. And the cast is really great. And our showrunner, Ellen Rappaport, is brilliant. And it's been a real joy.
You know, Doug has that same kind of dynamic when it comes to like little bit of chemistry that you had with Zoe in New Girl as well, right? Like, are they gonna be? Are they a couple? Do they like each other? It's interesting that you see a little bit of that as well. Tell me a little on that.
Yeah, so I think, in terms of, I don't want to ever give anything away. And we obviously here in the States are a season ahead of you guys in India. So I don't want to ruin anything for those having the fun of it. But what I will say is, as an actor, playing all those tensions and those levels are always really fun. It's always really fun to be playing something counter to what the words are. And so I love working with Ophelia. I love working with Adara, who plays Tina, and Jess and Oscar and Lennon. I think we have a really, really strong cast. And as the season and the series goes on, I hope you guys all check out season 2 too when it comes out there. It's just really strong, and everybody really starts shining more and more.
Jake, I also want to know, what is it that you learned from Nick, and what is it that you learned from Doug that you kind of are going to sort of, it's going to stay with you?
Yeah. What did I learn from Nick? And what did I learn from Doug? I don't really, personally, what I learned from doing New Girl was how to act on a television show for 7 years, and how to stay with a character, and how to do scenes even though it didn't feel quite right, and how to make little changes to make it feel more like my version of Nick. And I've learned, I maybe probably handled that with less class because I was younger, and doing it as Doug, I've learned how to like ask for changes in probably a nicer way. And when you're the first time you're going through it, New Girl was the first one, everything felt really desperate, and it felt like life and death. And with Minx, it feels more like we can breathe a little bit and try to make the right show.
You've been doing comedy for a while now, Jake. I want to know, what is it that it's truly missing? Even now, where are they not stepping up when
With
it comes to
comedy?
comedy writing for
Um,
movies or for
Well,
series?
honestly, I think it's different. I think there is a lot of comedy right now. I think with social media and short forms, younger generations are liking faster stuff. And in terms of movies, people are liking more spectacle. So people want to see a billion-dollar movie of special effects and explosions, and they want everything to be international. And that's really harder with comedy. Comedy is more specific, in my opinion, and it's more, it's for each place, kind of has its own feeling. So I don't know. I think there is a lot of really good comedy going on. I just think comedy is always a little bit more subtle. And I think the key with great comedy is always situational. Put characters in really funny situations and watch them wiggle their way out. But I think in streaming, there's a lot of really great stuff. I just don't see big comedies and big movies connecting right now. As long as these big IPs are as long as a movie is trying to also be a roller coaster ride in some theme park, then we're not going to compete with comedies.
I don't know. First of all, did you expect the kind of love that you got for season 1? Because it's an absolutely different premise, number one.
Yes.
And number two is, when you're entering season 2, when the show becomes popular, you all saw that with New Girl. Now there are expectations, and you only have to do better in season. So I want to know, did that play up in your mind? What was happening? What are the discussions that were happening with you and the cast?
I did give the reaction a lot of thought, but I was really pleased with how people responded to season 1. It really felt like those who really liked it really loved it, and we found a base of an audience really quickly, which was really nice. And in terms of season 2, the pressure of it, I think as a cast, we feel that because we love it. So, the writers are, it's kind of its own thing, but from the inside of the show, we're really all fighting to try to make the show that we believe people care about, because mostly when you're doing TV, the cast and the crew love it as much as the audience. So, the pressure that outside pressure is also internal. We want it to be really good. We don't want to be on something that disappoints people, because you feel audiences when you go out in public and people tell you what they like, or on social media, if they write to you what meant something to them, you don't want to let them down. We make this for people. It's not a selfish art form. It's like we're doing it for people to like. And if they don't like it, what are we doing? It's ridiculous. We're just playing dress up.
Well, absolutely. I'm going to quickly wrap this. Are there any Indian actors you'd love to collaborate with? Have you seen any work in India, any film, any series? And if not,
Yeah. Nothing jumps out
Right.
at the top of my head, but that's for not a lack of desire. It's more because I'm just waking up and I don't want to say the wrong
Okay.
person.
Fair enough. I do hope you do get to collaborate with some work here. We'd
I
love
would
to see
love
that
to,
happen.
yeah, for sure. I'd love
Um,
to go to
so
India. That would be a dream.
I'm going to end it by then saying you're at such fun guests. You're at a lot of celebrities who are a fan of New Girl. I'm sure Minx has a lot of that coming in as well. Who are a few who do you think would be some interesting guests that could come to make it interesting in Minx if you
Oh,
had to
in the
choose
Minx
some?
world. Oh,
Yeah.
who
Who do
could
you
be in
think would?
terms of New Girl? I would like to see Zoe Deschanel pop in as a 70s character. I
I
think
love
her
that.
I think her style would really work with the 70s. If she came in as like one of the bosses, I think that could be a lot of fun. Bob Odenkirk, I always love any opportunity to work with Bob would be a dream again. Yeah, a lot. I mean, there's just so much talent. Kind of anybody. Sam Rockwell, I always want to work with him again. I think he would be great in the 70s.
That's fantastic. We're putting it out in the universe. Make that reunion happen, and that in a completely different world. We'd love that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm enjoying. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you for
I had a
taking the
lot of
time.
fun.
Yeah, me too.
I hope you had fun too.
I did. And thanks for staying up so late to do this. I know it's like 10
Absolutely.
p.m. over there.
Yeah, it is. It's actually about 10:40 now, but that's okay. That's fine. This was worth it. All right. Thank you, Jake. Sending you so much love from India.
Thank you so much.